Welcome back to Beyond the Silence Whispers Across America. I'm Sammy, and today we're examining one of the most haunting unsolved cases in recent memory. The disappearance of 7-year-old Alexis Patterson from Milwaukee, Wisconsin in 2002. Before we get into the theories, the timeline, or the heartbreak, let's talk a little bit about the Alexis her family and friends knew. Alexis was full of spunk, the kind of kid with a smile that just stopped you. She loved the color pink, roller skating, just a bundle of energy. Her friends and family called her Lexi, or sometimes Pi. She was a first grader at Hi-Mount Boulevard School, and interestingly had perfect attendance. That detail sticks out because it shows she genuinely wanted to be in school. She always drew attention with her bright pink Barbie backpack. Her family lived just a half block, maybe a 2-minute walk, tops, from the school. Not to paint a perfect picture, because life at home was, well, complicated. Alexis lived with her mom, Ayanna, her stepdad, Lauren Bourgeois, and her little sister. Her parents weren't together, and her dad, Kenya Campbell, was in and out of her life. The family as a whole was tight, but, like most families, they had their struggles. Still, they were close-knit, and Alexis was really the light in their lives. Always in the middle of it, bossy in that endearing little kid way, just overflowing with life. The Milwaukee neighborhood around Hi-Mount was vibrant, but definitely wasn't immune to challenges. Crime, poverty, the stuff a lot of American cities face. But Alexis was loved, both in her family and in that community. And then, just like that, this bright little girl, with her Barbie backpack, basically vanished into thin air. Let's rewind to the morning of May 3rd, 2002. Alexis's day started with the kind of argument that honestly plays out in 1,000 homes every single morning. She hadn't finished her homework the night before, so her mom told her she couldn't bring cupcakes to school as a snack. The ultimate first grade punishment, especially when it's your special snack day. That led to tears, hurt feelings, a rough start. Alexis left for school, still upset, around 7:40 that morning. Her stepdad, Laron, walked her almost all the way. At least that's what he told police. He said he stayed to watch her cross with the help of a crossing guard and saw her head toward the school playground. Witnesses, some classmates and neighbors, did report seeing Alexis on school grounds that morning. She was wearing, if I get the details right, and there are several sources on this, a red and gray hooded jacket, light blue jeans, a shirt that was either light purple or blue, with stripes, white tennis shoes, and sunflower-shaped earrings. Carrying her pink Barbie backpack, of course. Her hair, 2 French braids in the front, pulled back into a ponytail. Now, here's where the story gets murky. Even though there were kids who said they saw her, upset, on the playground, official school records say she never made it to class. Teachers didn't report seeing her. Actually, the school only notified her mom and stepdad that Alexis was missing when school let out. So for hours, nobody realized she hadn't been in class. It's this gap between the playground and the classroom that's defined years of confusion and debate. Did she ever actually go inside? Was she taken from the playground? We don't know. And honestly, that lack of certainty is a big part of why this case is still so unsettled. Early that afternoon, right around 4 p.m., Alexis was supposed to return home from school. But she didn't. At first, Laron and Ayanna thought Alexis was just hiding out somewhere. Maybe upset about the cupcake debacle and skipping class. I mean, that's kind of what a lot of parents might assume in a similar situation. It wasn't until they actually called the school and found out she never attended class that day that the panic really kicked in. That's when they called the police. The police response. Well, it wasn't immediate. It took about an hour for officers to show up, and at first they seemed to agree with the parents. It seemed like a runaway or a kid afraid to face her mom after skipping class. But then, hours passed. There was no word. No Alexis. And the situation quickly snowballed from troubled kid to something is very, very wrong. The initial search was massive, one of the largest local efforts in Milwaukee history. Police, volunteers, even helicopters, everyone combed the area. They scoured the streets between Minneck and Vine. 16th and 60th searched vacant lots, parks, alleyways. Even divers were sent into the lagoon at Washington Park. And the community, they just rallied. I mean, over 100 volunteers on bikes and on foot wearing Operation L.A.P. Locate Alexis Patterson t-shirts. The emotional toll, I can't even imagine. Parents kept their kids close, neighbors started looking sideways at each other, and every empty lot seemed like a question. Days turned into weeks, and Alexis was still nowhere. Now let's talk about the first big red flag, literally a red pickup truck. This is one of the details that's kind of stuck with everyone who's ever followed Alexis's story. Before she disappeared for almost a week, some of her classmates noticed a red pickup parked near the school. The kids said, "Look, this truck never actually picked up or dropped anyone off. It was just there, same spot every day." And the day Alexis vanished, it was spotted again. Were those just random sightings, or was the truck actually involved? No one knows. Not parents, not police. The red truck and its driver vanished after Alexis disappeared. Investigators never managed to find it. Was it someone waiting for an opportunity? Was it unrelated? There's just enough there to make you crazy, right? I'll say this. In the world of missing kids, random vehicles parked outside schools are the stuff from nightmares. But after all these years, no evidence ever connected the truck to Alexis. It's just this dangling thread, never pulled, never explained. That possibility, that something or someone was watching, waiting, it just adds to the sense of unease. As the search ramped up, so did scrutiny on Alexis's family, especially her stepfather, Laurent Bourgeois, and her mom, Ayanna. Laurent had a checkered past, including criminal activity before Alexis came into his life. And I gotta say, a lot of cold cases end up circling back to family, so naturally the cops looked at him hard. Laurent failed a polygraph, a detail that's fueled suspicion for years. But you know, his criminal record, plus later allegations of abuse and a charged domestic life, just kept those suspicions alive. But the reality is, as far as authorities say, there was never actual evidence tying him to Alexis's disappearance. Same with Ayanna. She took a polygraph and passed. She has always said she believes Alexis is alive. She was vocal, active, present, never shied away from police or the public. But that didn't stop the rumor mill. You know, I once covered another case where the family wound up taking more heat than the evidence supported. Sometimes people fixate on the people closest to the child because it's just logical on the surface. But sometimes it's just a painful dead end. In Alexis's case, the scrutiny was relentless. But no charges, no smoking gun. The sad truth is, without evidence, all you're left with is suspicion and a lot of heartbreak. Something that can't be ignored with Alexis's case is the role of media, and what wasn't said or shown just as much as what made headlines. There was a huge difference in coverage compared to cases like Elizabeth Smart, who disappeared just a month later in Utah. National news was all over Elizabeth, and families like Alexis's watched as her case faded faster than you'd expect. That's not a coincidence. There were accusations, let's be real, of racial bias. It went beyond lack of coverage. At one point, someone distributed racist flyers in Milwaukee, dropping them outside America's Black Holocaust Museum. The person behind those flyers turned out to be a known hate-monger. But still, using Alexis's kidnapping to peddle bigotry, as if this case didn't matter because of who she was. Horrifying. Community activists in Alexis's family didn't just sit on their hands, though. There were protests, vigils, ongoing pressure to keep her face, her name, her story alive. If anything, that activism is why, years later, people still know Alexis's name in Milwaukee. even if the rest of the country moved on. Over the years, investigators followed hundreds, probably thousands, of tips. The reality of cold cases is that hope flickers with every call. There were tips Alexis was in the Milwaukee River. Divers searched, found nothing. Someone said her remains were buried in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Again, nothing came of it. Every dead end stings for families, and it wears down investigators too. Maybe the wildest was in 2016, when a man in Ohio told detectives his ex-wife was really Alexis Patterson. Apparently, she couldn't remember her early childhood. They did a DNA test. It turned out not to be her. But Ayanna Patterson still believes that woman could be her daughter, calling for more tests. And who can blame her? In cases like this, I don't know how anyone could ever let go of any one hope. Despite all the dead ends, Alexis's case kept popping up on national media. America's Most Wanted, John Walsh, all the big cold case programs. Yet nothing ever stuck. But you look back and you see something. The search never really stopped. Hope persisted both in police files and in her mother's heart. With so little physical evidence, theories about Alexis's disappearance have sort of become their own cottage industry. I want to break down the three main ideas. First, stranger abduction. Someone in that mysterious red pickup truck saw an opportunity, took her from the playground, and disappeared. I mean, that's what those red truck sightings seem to suggest, but with no eyewitnesses or physical evidence, that theory is shaky at best. Even FBI analysts pointed out the lack of support there. After all these years, you'd expect someone, anyone, to have come forward if it happened out in the open. Second theory, Alexis was taken by someone familiar. A neighbor, a friend, maybe even a family member, trying to give her a better life or shield her from trouble at home. That's plausible, especially with her stepfather's background bringing all sorts of questionable people in their lives. Still, if someone close abducted Alexis, why take her and not her younger sibling? Why risk it? Why no ransom, no contact, no nothing? And then the most controversial, that her disappearance involved her mother or stepfather. Some law enforcement, and I want to hedge this because this is mostly suspicion, not fact, believed from early on that one or both were hiding the truth. But even after years of relentless investigation, looking at every sex offender, leads all over the country, thousands of interviews, there just wasn't enough to charge anyone, ever. No suspect was ever officially named. So here we are, with all of these painful possibilities, and Alexis is still missing. In the 20 years since that morning, Alexis's disappearance has left a permanent mark on Milwaukee. Every year around May 3rd, her family and supporters host vigils, lay wreaths, and walk the route from her house to Hi-Mount School. The mayor even officially proclaimed Alexis Patterson Forget-Me-Not Day. Every birthday, her mom holds a party, keeps reminders of Alexis all over her home, artwork, photos, even little school assignments she never got to finish. Local artists, activists, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children keep Alexis's face out there through age progression photos, billboards, even playing cards with cold cases sent to prisons. The message is clear. Alexis hasn't been forgotten. More than that, her case helped raise awareness for missing and exploited children, especially black girls who so often go overlooked. Whatever happens, that's a legacy that matters. For the Patterson family, and really Milwaukee as a whole, 20 plus years of not knowing has been a kind of torture. Alexis's mom, Ayanna, still believes her daughter is alive. That spark, that hope, just won't die. Every single year, the police say the case is still open. A $10,000 reward is still on the table. Tips still trickle in. Yet there's never been that one break that could provide real answers, real closure. The impact. You see it in how protective families became, how Alexis's face became a rallying cry for justice, how the question what happened to Alexis is still asked, with pain, frustration, and yes, a faint hope. And let's be honest, whoever was responsible has never faced justice. Maybe they never will, but people keep searching. So what really happened? Why does her case still draw new tips after all these years? And what would justice even mean now? An answer, a body, a homecoming. The truth is a community effort. No one person can crack a case this cold, but together we are an army of truth seekers. Cases like Alexis's don't just disappear, they're forgotten when the public moves on. We refuse to move on. That's where we'll leave it. No neat answers, just big, aching questions. I'm Sammy, and I'll keep telling these stories because someone out there still knows something, and for kids like Alexis, silence should never be the end of the story. Stay tuned. We're nowhere near done yet. For more chilling mysteries and untold stories, tune in to Beyond the Silence, Whispers Across America on all major podcast platforms.